get the point. Alright, I appreciate you guys showing up for this. You ain't got no choice because it's just us. And also Mr. Foam Roller and Mr. Banana, I appreciate you for being here. The code word is popcorn, and I'm going to be doing my presentation on decriminalization of marijuana. So no shit, there I was, 2002, sitting at my girlfriend's couch, day after prom, or the night of prom. So you know exactly what I thought I was going to get into, but that just happened a little bit later. So her and her friends begin to, sit on the couch and, do the things that after prom do, drinking, smoking, things that I was too young to do because I was only 14. But that's when they brought out the marijuana. And so at 14 years old, at that point, if I would have gotten caught with that, what I'm doing right now with you guys and what I was doing around here in the military wouldn't have happened. And so just brainstorming with my wife, taking those type of things into consideration, I really did think about that type of effect and how it happens to us in the United States on the daily. So, I mean, I don't want to put anybody on blast, but what's been your experience with marijuana and such from a legal perspective?
I have never touched it.
Okay. Anything else?
I mean, I've never touched it either, but I've had friends that smoke marijuana, and they luckily have never been caught with it, because I don't know what would happen to
Exactly.
their lives, maybe significantly
Very much so.
hindered.
Same, I don't know how to put
Of course. So just based upon that thought process that I had, just thinking about that, I looked at the history of it, and a lot of people think that it goes back to 1971 when Nixon administration took in office and they had the quote-unquote war on drugs. But a lot of people, what they fail to realize is that the history before that even had a bigger impact on it. In 1875, they had the Harrison Narcotics Tax Act, which basically targeted the Chinese immigrants coming over to from San Francisco, and Black Americans in the South. So the Chinese Americans dealing with the opium coming from across the water, and then the blacks dealing with the cocaine, which was based upon one report says that the blacks have a new drug that's kind of hippie, and it causes them to stay awake for a very long time. And so, taking that into consideration and exactly what's going on today, that's really what my conversation to you guys will be about. Is I am no way an advocate for legalizing it. That's not the purpose that I'm talking to you guys. But the fact of decriminalization, the fact that America spends almost $500 million a year fighting marijuana and those type of things, and over half of the population that's inside the prison right now is a result of drug possession, and usually for the case of being for personal consumption. So right here, here's a quote from President Nixon talking about the American public's enemy, number one in the United States, is drug abuse. In order to fight and defeat this enemy, it's necessary to wage a new all-out offensive. And so what he basically did is he implemented a zero tolerance policy, which targeted specifically areas of lower income and areas of color, essentially. That same mentality carried over not only from the Nixon administration, but also into the Jimmy Carter administration, going all the way down to the Reagan administration. It still goes on today. And so Reagan is throughout the Carter's presidency, it went from the budget for fighting annual eradication and drug eradication, $437 million to $1.4 billion during his term. And so, based upon here, what we can see is the figures are. A lot of people, if you look at the media or anything like that, it'll say that people of color are more prone to use marijuana and these type of things. But if you really look at the statistics, it's not true. Although it does say that people of color do use it more based upon how many report, the usage between white and non-white is basically the same. But if you look at this one right here, with the arrest rates for marijuana possession by race, it shows a completely different statistic, that those of non-white origin are almost 3 times more likely to be arrested than people that are non-white color. And that deals with, with 40 years worth of a zero tolerance policy where police officers going into specific communities and targeting specific people, because it has a tendency to be higher, but this is what happens out of it. And the big issue that we started to see with here in Massachusetts, this is specific data from this state showing the complete difference between that of those people being arrested. So in 2001, out of the people being prosecuted, 129 were white, 285 were not white. And here, this is the big issue of why we're seeing that there's so many people being put through the system, is because they don't have the money to pay for it to get out. And so you say right here, 41% of people that are in prison right now are off of misdemeanor or some sort of low consumption of drug and just so happen to get caught with it. And so right here, also a study shows that out of the 211,000 people that's in the federal prison, 105,000 of those people are in there for drug possession or some sort of thing. Now it could be from possession, it could be from moving it as far as trafficking it, but 9 times out of 10, most of the people is for personal consumption. And so this, as we continue time, people's minds and things change. The approval rating, if you will, for people thinking that legalizing it is changing as well. And so we understand that as of now, there's 20, if I'm correct, 24 states that have some sort of form of legalization of marijuana, whether it be for personal consumption, for medical purposes, or whatever the case may be. So the mindsets are changing. And so what I say is something that we should do is, as I said, for decriminalization, because America as a whole is spending way too much money on prosecuting and dealing with these people, as far as it could be using those assets for rehabilitation. So, for example, in Florida, they have programs where they will rehabilitate these people to go and keep them out of the system. And so, yeah. So I hope that informs you guys of something.